This video contains minor spoilers for Superman Red Son. Go watch the movie and come back. I assure you that it's worth it. In anticipation for the coronavirus, I've been sitting at home doing nothing but the occasional homework assignment, browsing Twitter, and watching DC animated movies. Lo and behold, a trailer came out for Red Son. So I went, I remember that from something. Like that one comic book and Supergirl and all that fan art. Then the movie comes out on download. I see decent reviews, so I go, well, okay, screw it. Let's see what this is all about. Is this thing even good? Let me just turn on my VCR, make sure all the lights are off, check that it's playing.
Get used to it.
Superman Red Son is the best Superman movie ever made. Man of Steel, dog shit. Go back to Netflix. Christopher Reeve Superman, old and dumb. All the other animated crap, CW Superman, no, bad. That's right, capitalist pig, shut up and cry.
Why did you say that name?
Superman Red Son rocked my world so hard I haven't stopped thinking about it for at least a week. So you know what? I'm just gonna chill out about this movie for a few minutes and call it a video. Sue me. Don't sue me. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Where do I start? The Foley work in this film is absolutely amazing. I know that's a strange praise, but it deserves some credit. Sometimes with the small budget these animated films are dealt, it's hard to make these feel less like Saturday morning cartoons and more like actual features. But Red Son does a phenomenal job with what they're given. For example, in the Superior Man fight, each punch feels supersonic. Like literally, each punch sounds like it broke the sound barrier for the Foley effect. And the fight between these two gods should feel like that. And then fights like the Batman one feel extremely grounded. Every punch sounds like a real breaking jaw. The Foley work makes it feel like I am Superman, drained of all my power at the mercy of this brute that is the Batman. And I love it.
Are you saying you have a masochistic complex?
No comment. For a movie with a pretty low budget, I'd say they definitely met the level of quality they needed to. Although movies like The Killing Joke or Flashpoint may technically have better animation, Red Son again does the best with what they're given. Superman moves as you would expect a Soviet Superman to, firm and militarized, and as the film progresses his movements are more so as such. Not that it matters, but I love that Lex has red hair. I'm a sucker for red hair Luthers. Lois looks like an actual reporter, which is awesome. And Batman. Magnifique.
Stop being so
The soundtrack is just something else. Frederick Wiedemann did something breathtaking with this score. It doesn't feel too propaganda-like or too USSR-y. It's something that I would listen to on repeat on my own time. I say I would because on Twitter, Wiedemann said the release of the soundtrack is up to Water Tower Music. So hey Water Tower, release it soon, god damn it. It's so uplifting when it needs to be. The orchestra during Superior Man's liftoff is soothing. Batman's themes exude darkness. And god damn, that opening credit sequence was an out-of-world experience. I mean this only in a good way, but goddamn, the score might have been too good for an animated movie. Like, someone hire Wiedemann for this shit. He's brilliant.
What now? Now I save the world.
The Boy Scout himself. I guess he's still a Boy Scout just for Soviet Russia. This movie, while filled with fan service and Easter eggs for multiple characters, is still primarily a Superman movie. Every event in the film is focused on progressing Superman's character arc, and every element still works. He isn't evil or anything because of his Mother Russian heritage. At his core, he is still Superman. He cares for everyone. He wants to save everyone. He wants what's best for everyone. And that's where his character arc comes into play. In the style of Society Man, Superman descends to his worst point as a character, a power-hungry egomaniac bent on shaping the world in his image, before he realizes the sins he's committed. Unlike Joker though, the story isn't as reliant on the narrative view of Superman. The movie can also show us Superman's flaws through other characters.
We must weed out the insurgents, the weak,
The ones whose minds have been poisoned against the state.
The face of Soviet Russia himself, one of the biggest assholes in history. His character doesn't do much in this film, but he represents what Superman could become as a premier, what he gets close to becoming. We're supposed to feel a sense of enthusiasm and happiness when Superman blows him to shreds, but instead I feel sorrow because this is the triggering moment for Superman's descent, where he begins his journey to save the world, as he puts it. Side note, it's weird that Stalin refers to Superman as his son, considering all the shit he put his son through.
You were a terrible leader, a terrible person, and a terrible father. Best wishes, John Green.
You really shouldn't smoke, Mrs. Luthor.
This is the same brand my doctor smokes.
To be frank, Lois Lane doesn't have much to do in this film, but her characterization is just absolutely amazing. She actually feels like a good reporter, bouncing back at Superman's statements to create an informational and useful interview. At first I was sort of taken aback with the idea that she's Lex's wife instead of Supes' damsel. Their dynamic, although drastically different though, still feels like a version of Lois and Superman. Superman's revelation at the climax of the movie has levity because it's not a big Lex versus Superman Dawn of Elseworlds fight. Instead, it's a heart-to-heart conversation between the Man of Steel and the reporter who had the confidence to question him on his methodologies. But she's not showing hate towards him. She sees him as a guy who just wants to do what's best for everyone. And in that moment, all she wants to do is show him that he might be wrong. Speaking of Lois, I should probably talk about her mildly maniacal husband, the great and powerful.
And with that, I bid you all a truly heartfelt farewell.
I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of this version of the character, but he perfectly serves the story given to him. He's the one thing constantly in Superman's way, directly or indirectly. It's crazy that the movie does such a good job building up their rivalry, but neither of them meet each other until the middle of the third act. I think my main problem with Lex stems from the fact that at the end, the movie sort of paints him as some kind of savior for mankind, while he himself has done many questionable things throughout the film. But I get what they're trying to say. Lex doesn't need to be perfect to be a symbol of American ideals because, like Lex, they're also not necessarily perfect. I guess it just feels like it comes out of left field. However, let's talk about a character that does come out of left field that 100% works for me.
Did I say 10 minutes? I meant 10 seconds.
Holy shit, this version of Batman just absolutely took my breath away. Like, holy fucking shit. Batman in this movie isn't Batman. He's a killer. He's a borderline psychopath. He's an actual terrorist. So coming off a video like my last one, you'd think I'd absolutely hate this version of the character. But hell no. As much as this Batman isn't Batman, he still is Batman. That doesn't make any sense, I know. But hear me out. Batman has always been defined by the single greatest tragedy in his life: the death of his parents. This version of Batman follows that to a T. He blames Superman for their death. He was never there to save them. Growing up without them, he probably didn't have an adult figure in his life to show him love and affection. As a poor kid from the gulags, he probably wasn't surrounded by the best crowd. And now the new premier, the guy who inadvertently caused the death of your parents, is mind-numbing and controlling people who disagree with his altruistic ideals. Thus, you set out to take this guy down by any means possible. So when you eventually get defeated and Superman tells you the game is over, you want to spit in his face. This wasn't a game. It was never a game for you. It was your livelihood, your one purpose in life, to defeat this bane of your existence. You'd rather die than live longer in such a world. Although I don't condone any of the actions of this Batman, he makes sense to me, and he's exactly what this movie needed to get me on its side. The scene with him blowing up Parliament caught me completely off guard. A visible grin stretched across my face, and I sat there like a giddy schoolgirl anticipating what this movie did next. And the movie did some amazing things next, including its characterization of,
I come from an island of all women. Work it out for yourself.
Yo, Mithy, shut up. Let me talk about Wonder Woman, okay?
what? Are you sure? I thought you hated Wonder Woman.
That's not entirely true. Just give me the mic, you little... I never liked most interpretations of Wonder Woman. I liked Gal Gadot, but that's because of what she offers to the character, not because of the character herself. I don't like her in the comics, and I don't like her in the animated movies, except this one. For an Amazon warrior princess, she sure damn felt like one. She was always on the side of peace for both worlds, because that's what the Amazons have to be. That's what they are. She doesn't have a chip on her shoulder. She doesn't have a sense of I'm better than you. She genuinely wants to save mankind. In this movie, she sees Superman as a leader until the end when her faith is broken. And then she does the most mature thing. She just leaves.
And fuck you, I'm out!
Because the world of man has broken her heart too much. It was over, and I'm glad she played the diplomat, because in my mind, a wizened warrior princess wouldn't just duke it out in man's world. She would use her skills as a goddamn diplomat to better the disgusting nature of the planet, because she is virtuous and selfless enough to give a damn about this world. But Superman and Batman literally break her to her core, and she does what is the most respectable thing. Because screw mankind and their petty wars. Her character makes sense to me. Her character is consistent, her character is sensible, she's likable, and she is respectable, and she is someone who people can look up to. And in my honest opinion, she is more of a hero than Batman and Superman in this movie. Prove me wrong.
Scribe, just give me back the mic. This video has gone on for too long. After finishing the movie, I instantly looked up all the reviews I could. I had to know if anyone loved this movie as much as I did. And much to my chagrin, not a lot of people adored this movie. There were floods of comments all over Reddit and YouTube about how this adaptation was a disservice to the original comic or shouldn't have been so watered down. There isn't anything wrong with being upset with a comic book film because it's not loyal to the original comic. But as someone who went through this movie with minimal exposure to the Mark Miller run, I still found this film breathtaking. To those of you upset about the film's lack of comic book stuff, I understand, but I would highly suggest watching this film again sometime with a slightly more open mind, because I assure you, there has to be at least one thing to enjoy from this film, whether it be the score, the animation, the character relationships, the progression of the titular arc, whatever it may be for you. So yeah, go watch this movie. There's no deep message or reflection on the filmmaking industry, no weird implicitly pretentious analysis, just go watch the movie, please. And also, go to sleep. You have show choir practice tomorrow. What are you doing? Get back to bed!